I don't know what people picking on you talking about your anger. I'm angry, man. I'm a little irritated at these people out here talking about Joker.
I have some bad news for you.
All I have are negative thoughts.
Chris Herman got profiled and patted down at the Joker movie.
Close to it. Not patted down, but once over. Like really two different cops.
Interrogated
twice by the ticket people.
Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't have looked so threatened if you had a shirt from DTMerch.com. Oh, they would have seen you got that classic black tee with the white logo. Come on in, sir. If I were you, I'll quit bullshitting and get these tickets today because we're going to be at the Catch One on October 18th. Catch One is at 4667 West Pico Boulevard. Type in your browser double toasted Eventbrite and then type in Los Angeles and it should take you to that page. Now, opinions are opinions. And not everybody's going to like or dislike the same thing. I can deal with that. But y'all just kind of took this a little bit further than that.
Are you having any negative thoughts?
Martin.
Everyone laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
You can say that again, pal.
Like, yeah.
That's my trigger.
You gonna get it. Don't you know I'm young and white? Or at least I'm trying to act like I'm young. And I'm white.
He's like a 45-year-old man.
Yeah. I'm supposed to say he's in his 30s. Well, you were damn near 50 years old. Yeah. So no wonder you mad. No, believe me, I'm 34. Yeah, all right. You know, the thing that I'm mad about with this is that I've read some reviews where people have expressed their feelings, and it's not all positive, but they judged the film. You know, I heard your opinion. You weren't all positive, but you were judging the film.
Yeah.
You weren't sitting up here talking about.
I wasn't like, well, in the comics they do this.
Well, it's not even that. It was more like, well, this is offensive, it's repulsive, and it's irresponsible, and it's too dangerous to be out there. And people are actually offended by this, and it reflects in their reviews. And I'm not going to say what I've read and who said what and all that. I mean, you know they're out there because they are out there. You read some.
Yeah, I have, and then they're not even really criticizing the movie itself. It's just all the hype and the frenzy that surrounds it.
This movie never had a fair shake getting into the theaters because of all the hype that it had before. First of all, just by people just giving it glowing praise at these festivals, already set up probably unrealistic expectations for people. Yeah. And then this whole thing about from the festivals on to the news outlets and the media out there talking about how dangerous this movie is, to the point where this young man over here getting his balls grabbed at the box office. Terrible. Can't even go see something.
I can't.
Because of all of the hype that's going on for this. I want to do a spoiler talk with this, not really a review, just a discussion. Because it's going to take spoilers to discuss some of the things that we are going to bring up. Because I want to, and this isn't me defending the movie against people who don't like it.
Yeah,
but I do want to defend it from other people talking about how irresponsible and violent it is, and I do want to defend it on the terms of why I think it's a brilliant film. Again, not against people who don't like it, but because I didn't get to really explain why to the fullest when we were doing the review. Because I thought about it over the weekend. I was thinking, man, maybe I'm the one that just kind of just went in very, very hyped up, and maybe I couldn't really talk about the movie in a fair way. Maybe I'm overhyping it for myself. I thought about the discussion I had right after I left the movie, because I had Carlos in the car with me, and Carlos was going to talk about nothing else. Yeah. I actually had to just tell him to shut up and let me talk.
Just kick him out of the movie vehicle.
Yeah, it was funny because in the car he was doing that dance.
Oh yeah, he was doing it here
in the car. Yeah, like y'all worried about white people. Worry about Puerto Ricans. The whole time after you saw the movie, Carlos just in my car, just looking like a hippie chick at Woodstock or something. I was like, if he wasn't talking, he was dancing. I actually had to roll up something and slap his ass. Will you fucking stop and listen to me?
Gonna get us killed.
If you haven't seen the movie, of course, goes without saying that there will be spoiler discussions here, so you might want to walk away. Let's start by going into some things that we mentioned in the review and some things that people are talking about. Talking about how this character, the reason why they feel so threatened by him is because of this group of young men called incels, involuntary celibates. They're the people, and a couple of them, or at least one, has been known to commit a mass shooting.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Elliot Rodgers.
Yeah. So a lot of people are worried about, another socially scorned figure here inciting those people. And that's one of the things that I wanted to discuss right off the bat here with that. You mentioned that you were saying that he is not an incel, and this doesn't even fit because he gets the hottest girl in the movie. How do you feel about it? You want to elaborate on that?
Well, I mean that whole the whole idea of involuntarily celibate. He's not. His problem never seems to be stemmed from being lonely to begin with. It's all of his other mental issues, and his brain damage. But yeah, there's the hottest girl in this entire movie, maybe even in Gotham City, who comes over and has sex with him almost out of nowhere. They had a wink. He stalked her. She knew about it, and then boom, right off the bat. And they seemed to date for a little while. And then she kind of then that sign of ends, and it seemed to have been kind of like even a non-starter. Like I was like, this didn't even have to happen.
And a lot of stuff.
Wait, hold on. You now you know that wasn't real, right?
That's not real.
Yeah, it's he hallucinated that because you learn in the film that he's an unreliable narrator because we're seeing things from his perspective that are not actually.
Martin mind is blown right now. Martin looking at you
because he enters
what?
In the film. This one key moment when I think it's like he finds out about like his history, who he really is, and, the adoption and everything, and he goes to the apartment, enters her apartment, and is touching all of her things, and she enters, and he's like, "Oh, are you Arthur? You live down the hall?" Like that whole thing was like he hallucinated.
Yeah, he hallucinated all that.
He was always alone the entire time with her. He imagined her being in the club, being on the date, and don't shop.
She was even sympathetic towards. She's like, "You're in the wrong apartment," and then she says, "Do you want me to call your mother for you?" That was all that was. That's a Fight Club thing, man. All that was not real at all.
Oh, wow.
That's why when you said, because I couldn't say it in the review because when you said he gets the hottest girl, I was like, oh, shit, I can't say anything. Otherwise, I'm gonna spoil it for people. I was like, I don't think he really knows what was happening right there.
Okay, because I remember that there were so many things like that where I was like, all right, this feels like it's a fantasy sequence, and then I was like, well,
and it is.
When it was done, I was like, well, was it?
Yeah, it was.
One of my criticisms of the movie, and I'm still kind of like debating in my head, because she's not really a character; she's a plot device. That's exactly what her role is.
They're hanging out later.
No,
but we never really hear any dialogue. It's always like it's very minimal. And they even show certain scenes. They go back to those scenes and shows like, oh, she's there, and then they take her away from those scenes, and he's just alone. He's laughing to himself.
If you look at those scenes, like they show you they set it up clearly, where it's like you see him there when she's with him and his mother, and then they cut back and they show that he's
alone in the hospital. Yeah.
At the they show the club and they cut back and like, ain't nobody there. What the f wrong with you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then I stand corrected.
Yeah. No, that's one of the things that I like about the movie, man, is that this is more of a Joker movie than people even give it credit for.
Oh my God, yes it is.
Yeah.
People are saying that this is not like, I know Todd Phillips, him going out there, well, he wanted to make an actual film, not a comic book movie. It's like, dude, this is this has been used throughout the comic, the Joker story, like the one that it kept going through my mind over and over again when I'm watching this. It's the Killing Joke. Yeah. When he says to Batman, one of my favorite Joker lines in history is like, when it comes to my past, I prefer it to be multiple choice. Yeah. This is just one of those multiple choices, one of those other options. And that's why I think, it's kind of cool.
No,
Killing Joke.
This is more of a Joker movie than people give it credit for. When I was leaving the theater, one of the things I talked about with Carlos, and I want to bring this up because I'm going to mention some things that people wrote later. I want it to be documented that I didn't read this shit and just follow up later.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the car, and I talked about how, as you were saying, with the Killing Joke, they talk. What was that line again?
When it comes to my past, I prefer it to be multiple choice.
Yes. So you're not sure if he's actually telling the truth about that one bad day.
Yeah.
That drove him over the edge. You see it in the movies.
Yep.
Heath Ledger really wrote off that theme.
My father was a drinker. He comes at me with the knife. Why so serious? I just want her to know that I don't care about the scars. I stick a razor in my mouth and do this to myself.
It was always a different story that he told people with his background, and you can never trust what was going on with him. And it's the same way here. When I got out the theater, I told Carlos, I said, man, you don't know if any of this stuff is real.
Yep. He's an unreliable narrator the entire time.
You don't know if any of this stuff is actually true, because when the movie starts out, one of the things that he's asked, they ask him, Arthur, do you know why you're here? And I don't have any pictures or anything of you, but if you are any clips, but if you watch the movie, when they ask him that, they show him in a room where he's beating his head against the wall. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the movie, again, this is a spoiler discussion, so you know what's happening. He's in an institution.
Mm-hmm. Arkham.
And he's in Arkham this time. And one of the things I told Carlos was when I was in the car, I said, I don't know if any of this is real.
Yeah.
That could be in his head, because one of the things that I noticed right off the bat, I said, those two scenes have him in a room that is very sterile. It's all white. It's all clean. It looks way different from this piss yellow that they got from the dirty version of Gotham.
Yeah.
So when they get to the end of the movie, where we talked about how crazy it got. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons where I could actually buy into it is that, well, this is an exaggerated world where, yeah, sure, something like this probably could happen where the city goes crazy. But at the same time, is there a chance that this is just all the fantasy hero worship going on in his head? Is this because they have scenes where the ambulance crashes, they pick him up from the car, he's looking around. I mean, none of it, true to the Joker, none of this could be real at all,
because he always lies.
And I think there's all this shit about the violence of this movie and how crazy this movie is. There's a lot of subtext that's gotten lost, where just how much attention they have to detail they have paid to not only the Joker, but the character in the comics, Gotham itself. There's also that scene where where they have more scenes where he's hallucinating. That says that maybe this guy's just has this delusional sense of reality. You see the scene where he's talking to Murray Franklin, is that his name?
Yeah.
That scene where he's at the studio and he dreams and fantasizes about Robert De Niro as Murray Franklin calling him up.
What's your name?
My name's Arthur.
Well, there's something special about you, Arthur. I can tell.
That's again a fantasy sequence that's in his head. So it's like, all right, I'm not saying that these things are real, but there are other things that are left in the movie that could be real and not real. Not only in the Joker's head, but things outside of that. One of the things that I'm thinking about when I talk about Thomas Wayne, the reason why I like that character so much in the movie, and I didn't mind that character being there, is that there's a moment in the film, if you've seen it, and y'all know the story if you've seen it here. Thomas Wayne is eventually having to tell Arthur Fleck, the Joker's character in this movie, all his alter ego or his original form, whatever. He's telling him, you think you're my father. You think I'm your father because of the stories that your abusive mother's been telling you. Your mother's crazy, and we had to fire her because she used to work with us, and we had to get rid of her. I'm not your father. Your mother f***ed you up. And later on in the movie, do you remember a scene later on in the movie? Do you remember a picture later on in the film?
I know what you're talking about.
There was a picture that Arthur picked up off of his desk, off of a mirror, and it was a picture of his mother. And on the back of it, it had has something to the effect of, I don't remember too well, but it has something to the effect of love from from TW.
Yeah.
That could be Thomas Wayne.
Okay.
Now that works two ways here. It's either that his mother and his mother, who was her that played that played his mom in the movie?
Frances Conroy.
Frances Conroy. In the movie,
She did a great job.
she did an amazing job. She did an amazing job because she's also unreliable.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
very much so.
So that picture that was found, that could either be something that, and they don't explain this in the movie. Nobody gives the movie credit for this. That could be something that she was so crazy that she, under her delusions, wrote TW on there and wrote to herself. Or, if you really think about it, I mean, there's no definite answers. Thomas Wayne could have just had enough power and influence to go in, doctor records, have this guy committed, have this woman committed, and have this whole thing just his hand washed clean of because he had the power to make them look crazy, you know, and to make it look like he was abused. You know, these are things that they don't answer. You know, I see you shaking your mouth and everything, but you missed the picture with the initials on there.
Well, I do believe I saw it. It's just that from that picture, you're doing a lot of speculation.
Well, it could be speculation, but then keep in mind that you know that was a fantasy with him with the girl. So
Right, because when it started, I thought it was, and then it clips off in a way where I was like, well, it didn't seem to really answer whether it was or not. So I guess I got to take them at their word.
I think, well, for me at least, when we get the reveal with Zazie Beetz' character, I kind of realized, okay, I think a lot of what we're seeing is just really up for interpretation.
Yeah, that's
like
exactly
we can
it,
take
yeah.
different things in different ways, and you can think like that everything that we're seeing for the most part is true, or it's just this fantasy. How the Joker, how Arthur interprets the world, and maybe like everything we saw was not really it, or maybe there's certain things that are. For the most part, I just thought it was his own fantasy.
yeah, it could.
That's how I viewed it.
It could be. There's a lot there. I mean, it's not that I'm speculating a lot. It's just like they just don't tell you these things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of this is there. I mean, it's
possibly there.
there's no definite answer.
Yeah.
You know, she could be crazy. He could have been a guy powerful enough to just get them committed and get him out of his life. You know,
But other than a photograph with initials, there's nothing else. There's no other evidence of that.
there are the records that are there, but then again, you don't know if those records were doctored and put in there, or if they are placed in there, or were they real? You know.
Well, I mean, the records seem to be real.
But and at the same time, with a picture, why was it? If you see TW on there, why would it not actually be able to put doubt in your head? I mean, if it's a picture that says "Love Thomas Wayne," it could be from she. Like I said, she could have wrote it to herself, or could it be that he actually was able to like go in and just have the power and influence to do this? You know, I think again they put that in there so that you don't know for sure.
Yeah,
a definite answer. Nothing's definite in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I don't know why you find that so hard to actually believe. I mean, I can understand if you don't accept it, but to believe that that's there, that's not too crazy, man. That's not, you know.
No, it's not about whether it's crazy or not. It's just that if you're telling me that I've watched this whole thing and it's all up in the air and there's nothing that's definite, then I really have nothing to attach myself to. I mean, you're leaving open wide possibilities for anything I come up with, any theory I have to go like, well, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. And it's like, all right, but at least for me, I need to know some things are for sure. Maybe not all of it.
Do you need to know that for the end of the thing?
No. With the thing, I'm fine.
Okay. So
Yeah. No, I don't. No. Of course, that's open ended. Hey, which way will this go? But everything up to that point, it's not like I'm questioning if everything I've come up to this point is real or not. That's all accepted. Is like this is actually happening.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, because you're like the whole thing. It's like if you're seeing everything, it's just like a fantasy, and it's hard for you to grasp onto things. Well, I mean, this could be interpreted in any way, and so how can I attach myself to the characters if nothing that happened with them actually really happened?
This isn't the first.
So I get what you're saying.
This isn't the
I get
first
what
time
you're saying.
that's happened though. This is not a device that's new. I mean, the movies have done this before. Wizard of Oz had done that. You know, was she really there or was she not? Pan's Labyrinth does that. Was any of this real or not? Pan's Labyrinth is open to interpretation. It's not something, this is not anything new.
Wizard of Oz answers the question at the end.
Do they, though?
For the most part, they do.
But, okay, I haven't seen that in a while, but a lot of people have said, hey, could it have been that she was somewhere magical and, she's back now? I mean, because they've done this.
Or it was a dream. It's one of these two things.
It was one of these two things, yeah.
Right. But that's simple. It's either this or it's that. But you're saying, well, all of this whole 2 hours is, maybe not.
Pan's Labyrinth does that too.
Okay.
But that's what it's telling you, like, all of this maybe happened, maybe it didn't. But it's open for interpretation. Was it all in the girl's head? Was this a death dream of hers?
Right. It's either a death dream or it really happened. One or two things. But you're saying this maybe not throughout this entire film with all these different points.
It's only really two. And again, it's like, how much of his life is a fantasy, and then is there a possibility that he was lied to by somebody? And again, I think it's kind of cool because you were lied to by a powerful person who might be your father. And it's just those two things. Now, I don't think you have to like it, but to think that somebody takes it and is like reading too much into it, that's not really, that's not really too crazy to think. For people to have their own interpretation of it.
Well, you're welcome to your own interpretation, of course, but as Chris summed it up perfectly, there's so many things you're bringing up that like, hey, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe this really happened, maybe this didn't really happen. I'm like, all right, so at what point do I get to, where's the grounding in it?
I think the value in something like that is that a lot of people get to walk out of a movie who do see these things, and I don't think they're far-fetched to think. I don't think I'm reading into it any more than anybody else. And I think that and I don't know. I'm willing to bet, because I haven't gone and done research and shit, but I'm willing to bet that I'm not the only person who sees this. I'm not crazy. But the fact that a movie opens up that interpretation, for those who do appreciate it, for those who enjoy it, it's a movie that, again, leaves you open for discussion. I've always said that I think there's more value in a film when you're able to walk out of it and talk about if these things are real or not, or if there's other underlying subtext there that you can discuss with a film. Again, not everybody has to like that, but I think for the people that do, it brings value to a film.
Okay.
And like I said, I don't think that's the only film where they've done that kind of convention either. It's nothing new. Where they've done. There's people who argue that at the end of Fight Club, whether or not he's still dreaming.
Right.
Whether, this is, and that has a couple of things too. Tyler Durden, and did this guy really at the end commit this terrorist act and blow up this building? That's not unusual for films to do that. So I'm not even saying this movie is original with what it's done. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people do like that, and then some don't. But I know I bring that up because I think that that's under all the controversy with this film. A lot of people aren't looking at those kind of things. They're still sitting back and, focusing on, is this violent?
No, it's not.
Is this dangerous?
That's the one big thing. It's like I have seen so many other violent films just this year that are even worse than any of the violence I've seen. Joker's like, okay, yeah, he kills a few people, shoots somebody, he bludgeons someone to death, stabs someone in the eye, but there's nothing else, and murders a couple of people in the subway, but it's like there's nothing that I'm like, oh my God. It's like, no, I've seen this in any films that have been coming out in the last 30 years.
Speaking of ridiculous. Every Quentin Tarantino movie has some act of violence that's just disturbing.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the way it's...
And this never has one of those.
No, not at all.
And I think it means something. The deaths means something in this movie. Yeah. Just by talking about whether or not, and again, it depends on whether you like it or not. I enjoyed it to where, let's just bring up that question of whether Thomas Wayne really did lie to this family. Now, that later on in the movie, Arthur, who feels deceived by his mother, kills her.
Yeah.
Now, that could either make that death somewhat for him. I'm not going to say it's justified, but you realize where this guy's coming from. He just snaps. But also, on the flip side, if he's being lied to, it makes the mom's life and death all that more tragic. Where it drove this guy so crazy that, a possible lie drove this guy so crazy that he killed his mother for no reason. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that you're disturbed by that or not, by that theory, that's one thing. But I don't think it's a senseless death.
But you're supposed to feel disturbed by it.
Exactly.
That's the intention of the film.
Either he was so disturbed by her actions and where she just stood by and watched him abuse that maybe you don't ever want to agree with murder, but you're like, okay, I kind of get it.
It's cathartic for him.
Was that?
It's cathartic.
It's cathartic. Yeah, it's cathartic for him.
Yeah.
Or Thomas Wayne ruined their lives so much that it drove this guy to murder his mother, who actually was probably telling the truth the whole time. And you asked me another thing with that, what's to indicate that she might be telling the truth? Well, just that she is so earnest throughout the movie. You know, it's a performance where you go back and you look at that picture and you say, well, you know, maybe she really was telling the truth. Maybe she wasn't crazy. Maybe she never gave up on that story. So she stuck true to it so hard that maybe just the possibility there was some grain of truth right there with her. You know, I think the movie has a lot of substance to it that a lot of people aren't really paying attention to. It's another reason why I didn't mind the death of Thomas Wayne again in the film, because if it was just something where it was like in the opening credits and it's like, well, we are obligated to show this scene, or if it's you just put it in there because it's another Batman movie and the producers feel like, well, for the people who've never seen Batman before, they got to know the origin. This movie, they made Thomas Wayne a character.
For the first time, really.
For the first,
yeah. That's why, I honestly, in terms of, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to bring up the point that in terms of like live action Thomas Wayne's, where he's never really had any screen time, the fact they actually make him a character, and a character who's flawed. He's not just altruistic figure of Gotham who's trying to save. No, he's kind of an asshole. But he loves his family. He loves his son. He wants to protect him. And I really like that to the character. And that's why, because I thought, okay, if they're going to kill him again, I'm going to be so frustrated. But the fact that they actually built them up, or at least him, not so much Martha, but him, then it's like, okay, I kind of liked how it all culminated in the death of Thomas and Martha again.
The story worked
Bruce,
towards that.
The story worked towards that, and I just like that minute at the very end with Joker laughing to himself, and it's like I just thought of a joke, and it flashes to Thomas and Martha, and Bruce is standing there, and the psychiatrist asks him what's so funny. He's like, you wouldn't get it. It's like, I like that in this world, the fact that it's kind of so separate from Batman, but it totally is a Batman story. It also kind of gives you hope, I think, like, despite this madness that's going on in Gotham City, there is going to be a Batman. We might not never see it, and that's fine, but I kind of like that little hopeful note, as tragic as it is, that has potential to turn into something like that. I think that's cool.
Well, the whole movie wasn't just like, we're just going to show this because we need an origin for Batman. It was like this was a buildup.
Yes.
It was a buildup towards his death. He was enough of a character to where, and like I said, let's just say that we don't know, or maybe he did something foul or whatever, but it made sense even with him just being the character that he is, just taking it for face value.
Yes.
It was like, that line made sense where it's like, you get what you deserve, Thomas Wayne. Mm-hmm. And I was like, now the pearls, that's an overused image right there.
Okay, thank you. Because I was like, man, you guys are gushing, and I was like, I don't back off the fact that showing the pearls again. I was like, my God, can we watch Uncle Ben die all over again? It's like, man, can somebody do some way to have these parents die without the goddamn pearls hitting the ground again? I was like, this movie has been so good about staying away from that, and when they jump into it, they go with the most cliche image possible. And I would have much rather just seen, like, at the point where the Waynes are coming out of the theater of Zorro the Gay Blade this time, because it's the 80s. But this is a criminal following them. I was like, that's enough. That's all I need. I get it.
Sure.
And if it had shown, them dead and Bruce standing over them later, it's fine. But that whole thing with the pearl.
I totally understand that criticism. I totally get it. I can see why people would be annoyed by that. Yeah.
I had that criticism too. It wasn't enough to ruin it for me. I mean, it's a fleeting image, Some people see it and be fine, and some people won't. It didn't annoy me. It didn't ruin anything for me. But I agree with you. Had it been I would have preferred them to not have done it. But whatever. I don't even know how I feel about this. I mean, I don't know. Some people think it's clever. Again, didn't ruin it for me, but I just thought it was funny. Like, I wish they were watching another movie besides Zorro the Gay Blade. That's a shitty movie.
What are you waiting for?
I'm very impressed with myself, too.
Comes George Hamilton. George Hamilton.
And real Mexicans. Because it ain't nothing but a bunch of people with brown shit on their face in this movie.
I do think it's kind of funny that, they established that, like, Thomas Wayne, he's like an old film junkie. He goes to, like, Charlie Chaplin movies. Like, that's his passion. But I like how they established, like, why would they take their son to see this film? Because Thomas Wayne wants to go see the movie. He wants to drag his family along. Yeah. It's like, again, establishing he's kind of an asshole.
Dick taking him to see shitty movies. I hope he took him to see Blowout instead of Zorro. I also like that this whole thing and then bringing the twist. It's like I'm not going to say it's a twist because it's not a twist. They put Thomas Wayne into the story. It's not a twist because they introduce all these elements. They don't save Bruce Wayne until the end. They actually have the joke. They have a good scene with him. That kid is like, what are you doing? Kid's like, I need an adult.
But he acts like what a kid would do. Is like, I don't know what to do, and I'm just kind of frozen here. And I even like the reaction when you got Alfred comes like, what the f- are you doing? Don't touch him.
That kid is like, I think you're a pedophile, but I'm really confused.
Where were your hands before this?
I think you'd be touching something else if you're that dangerous. But this is I think that having Bruce Wayne, I'm sorry, Thomas Wayne be such a character in the movie and the build up to it making sense. I'm like, okay, this is kind of a cool way to put a spin on how the Joker and Batman are intertwined here. I think one of the things that everybody can agree on with this is that besides performances and especially the performance of Joaquin Phoenix, one thing that we all are agreeing on here is that this is probably the most overhyped movie of the year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's whether that's because you like it or whether that's because because people are just talking about things that we've already mentioned over and over again.
I see people write, man, I saw that was a piece of shit. And I'm like, slow your roll.
Calm down.
Like, listen, I'm not a big fan of the movie, but it's not a piece of shit.
You can hate the movie. You can call it a piece of shit. You can call it worst movie of the year if you want to. If you back up your reasons why. Or don't. If we're not friends, you don't do a show, I don't give a what you think. Really, those reviews we're talking about is too violent and too bleak. I would challenge you on that. I would challenge you all day on that. I will argue against these critics who talk about that they didn't like it because they were offended.
Yeah.
Because it's too violent. Because you and I said this, and I'll go deeper with it. You want to talk about violent and bleak. Let's talk about some directors who, if they had done this because of violent and bleak things that they had done in the past, let's talk about some of these directors in their past, and if they had made this movie and not changed 1 second of it. If this had David Fincher on it, who did Seven, you don't get more violent and bleak than that shit right there. It ends with a chick's head in a box. If Darren Aronofsky had directed this, if Martin Scorsese had directed this.
Wait, he didn't?
I think he's a producer on it. If you go watch Django Unchained, if Tarantino had directed this, where they took slave violence into a comic book direction. One of the complaints y'all talking about right here, they took a comic book and made this way too violent.
Yeah.
He took slavery. Complete with Mandingo fights where another black man gouged out another black man's eyes, another black man was torn up by wolves, and yet fans of the movie say, this is a comic book, people, all right? This is a comic book movie. But people talk about, that's just how it was back then. I know. You, man. It's if any of those directors, and probably then some, had done this and not changed anything, you wouldn't be saying this. And the violence that you see in here is not different from Mandela. You said it perfectly. You said Tarantino will put some of the most grotesque, violent imagery in his movies, and people will laugh.
Yeah. Most recently.
Yeah, recently. That's why we talked about it with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. A girl's face gets smashed into a wall. I watched a movie where a woman, and you and I talked about this, From Dusk Till Dawn, where a woman was about to be, a woman was tied in a trunk and then taken, and off screen though, but it was mentioned, it was heavily implied, and there's no mistake, she was raped and murdered, and people giggled at that shit. Yep. So shut the fuck up. I'm not criticizing any of these movies. They're great films. I mean, even Django Unchained, I have parts of it that I actually like a lot. I don't like the whole movie, but there are parts in it I think are absolutely brilliant. But I'm just talking about how you can have a double standard for things. Yeah. Critics are just like anybody else out there. I'm beginning to think that fans, the more I hang out with them, I might not like how they behave in movies, but they're more honest. They're more honest. They're more real with shit, and they'll just tell you, I just like what I like. The end of the movie where Murray Franklin is shot on stage. That's not meant to, if you were really paying attention, that's not meant for you to cheer. No. That's not meant for you to feel like Arthur Fleck, aka Joker's vindicated. It's supposed to be an ugly action by a disturbed man. And a lot of people, I think, you trying to read this like Tarantino. Well, it wasn't funny. Like I say, say what you will about the movie. I think it's a deeper film than what people are giving it credit for. Because those things are getting lost. But that's That's how I feel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Look at that. You made it to the end of the video. That means you ain't going nowhere. Stop lying to yourself. Hit that subscribe button. Get notifications. And since you love us so much, get more of us over at our main site, doubletoasted.com. Why? Because over there, you'll find the long version of this video, along with many others, uncensored, unedited, along with the live streams that you can get almost every night of the week. Support us at our store, dtmerch.com. And if you've heard absolutely nothing else that I've said, you must do this one thing, and that is stay, that's right, toasted.